Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Life Warrior Podcast. Once again, we are here for part two of divorce talk. And we'll be fighting dog noise tonight, y'all. It's just part of living here at this Life Warrior house we live in. So I'm sure you can hear Ozzy over there munching away. But so we first podcast we talked about, it's got a lot of, good feedback already. We have, I don't remember how many, over 300 views on it already. So it's obviously a popular subject. And the last time we talked about it, we talked a lot about the kids and how hard that was, and how to tell them, when we thought the best time to tell them, and how it affected them and all that. So tonight we're going to kind of go there a little bit again, where we were talking about the rules and fairness and how we feel about all that when it comes to the kids. So I'm going to let you lead it, start it, and then I'll jump in.
So I think one thing that we don't ever really discuss in regards to divorce is how our friends and family handle it. And so instead of choosing sides, if the whole goal of walking through this is just to do what's best for the kids, then friends and family need to respect that. And I think for me, I didn't see that all the time. So it was more like family had to choose sides, had to be cruel to the other person, had to do things that you would never do just normally.
Right.
But in choosing that, that's what ends up hurting the kids. So, in my situation, my sisters chose that they couldn't handle my divorce and what I was walking through. So they turned their back on me. Well, that means you're turning your back on my kids too.
Right.
And so I spoke on the last one of how much I miss my nieces and nephews.
Right.
Even more so, the sorrow and the pain I've seen from my own kids missing their nieces and nephews. That's been horrible.
Yeah.
So I think people need to realize that it's really awful to choose a side and just not be supportive of both sides. And
Right.
the only reason you're doing that is for the kids. And I'm not saying that one person might not have done something that hurt the other, that kind of thing. But when you're trying to think about your kids, you have to go after it like that. Like, what is going to be best for their developmental
Right.
down the road, their health down the road? What's going to make them the most well-rounded kids? And
Right.
if all families could come around that, that would be amazing. That would be super helpful as far as just healing. Now we've got so much pain from all that happened that I don't know my kids are ever going to really recover from the loss of those relationships. They were super close to their cousins.
Yeah.
And so, like, we did everything together from the time they were born. They're all the same ages. We have cousin camp every summer. It's just so sad to me that we had to lose that through this, when this divorce wasn't even anything that I really wanted. It was kind of forced on me.
Right.
And I needed to do it for my health, but also the health and well-being of my kids.
Right.
So from there, then you move into friendships. So what's your thoughts on that?
Well, as I'm trying to fend off the neediest dog on the planet, Texas, and then the hardest and loudest breathing dog on the planet, Ozzy. Um, so, we both walked this together on both sides and had the same, we had the same kind of issue, from family members where, and, my extended family, you have family, man, my nieces and nephews are plentiful, and
Yeah.
there's a bunch of them. And, I was, I, you know, I, I was close with them all. Not all of them we talked every day and all of that, but I feel like they all knew that, it was almost like Uncle Mark was the fun one, the, one you could always kind of count on for a good time and laughing and goofing off and and they all knew I loved them. You know, I made an effort a lot of times with all my nieces and stuff to go to soccer games and, you know, basketball games and things like that. And and I did that for reasons because that's the way my parents were. I mean, that's how they were. They wanted family together and brotherhood and all that means a lot to me. And so in the end, you know, I have also, you know, lost nephews and nieces. Exes. I wouldn't say I necessarily lost them. I still try to keep in touch with them mostly, and they're receptive when I do. But it that was the thing. It blew my mind, and I watched my brothers and sisters go through it too, and it was the same thing. Like, okay, that's all you hear, especially when it comes to court, right? I mean, when I'm going through divorce, it was, hey, the judge here and the lawyers here are going to do whatever is best for the kids. That's all I heard, right? I mean, whatever's best for the kids, and here's the laws and here's the rules, and so I just went with it. You know, I thought my lawyer had my best interest at heart, and all I cared about was how my kids were going to be okay, um, and it ended up, my lawyer did not have my best interest at heart. And in the end, you know, you walked it with me. It was about as lopsided a thing as you could get. Like I said, as a matter of fact, my friend Anthony, who's a divorce lawyer, he uses me as an example of the absolute worst case scenario for a man that could possibly be. That mine was the absolute worst case scenario. My gosh, these dogs, y'all, can't keep their feet still. So it wasn't about the kids. It wasn't about what was best for the kids. It was lawyers and getting together and making whatever backroom deals they made to get it over with as fast as they could get it over with. And in the end, you saw it. I mean, it was a struggle for me, and being able to provide for my kids, other than, you know, luckily my retirement helped. You know, it was always there, which was a great thing. But when it came to child support and medical bills and insurance and all that, man, you know, it sucked me completely dry. And so I would have to have these conversations with my kids of like, I can't do it. I don't have it, period. It's not that I don't want to. And man, that was hard. That mentally, emotionally. I mean, you saw me several times, you know, just lose it when I with the thought of not being able to do what I always did. You know, and at that moment, I just couldn't. It's the first time in their life that I just couldn't. And I had to tell them that. And that was super hard. So, and then on that other side, again, now you got people taking sides, and speaking into whatever, to whoever, you know, trying to make it as hard as possible on you. And again, that doesn't help the kids, right? And my kids are sharp. We've had conversations. They're older now. You know, we've been part of those conversations, and they, you know, they see it for what it is and understand it, and now we're good, thankfully. Things are good, and so I just I wish I could understand. I know, like I said, we're gonna talk. We're gonna bring a lawyer, try to get a lawyer in here, divorce attorney, to kind of go through the laws and stuff of how that works. So, because like we said, we know that there's, I don't know, millions around the country going through the same thing that have been or are starting going through divorce. And so I would like to get an attorney on here to kind of explain the rules and the laws and how that happens, how it gets so lopsided. If the rules and the laws are meant to protect the kids and make it as fair as possible, then how does it get so lopsided that one is almost destitute and losing everything and can't provide, and one is not? And you know, I want to know how that helps. Mentally helps the kids by, and again, you and I have all these conversations about conspiracy theories and things like that. And I don't think it's an accident. I think it's done. This whole thing was started, I don't know how long ago. You know more about that than I do, about how, the government
The
started this whole
agenda was
destruction of
in
the
the
family thing.
50s. Yeah, in the 50s, it was what can we do to destroy families? And so they had, they
So,
targeted majorities as well as just the
yeah.
nuclear family in general. So it's been going on for a while.
Well, I'm having to get Texas out of here because he won't about knocking the lights over. Quit.
Well, one thing I was going to say
um,
is like in our society, which is also not fair, is like you can go down to the courthouse. Some states have it where you have to wait, a certain amount of time before you can actually get your marriage license. And others are like Vegas, like just go and get married.
right,
So you don't have to have any kind of counseling. You don't have to go through anything to get married. It can be shotgun as quick as it can be. But
right,
but by the time that a couple decides that it's time to divorce, it has been through years of conflict and struggle. It's not something you wake up one day and go, oh, see ya, I'm out. It is years of just hard times. So when it comes to that point, divorce needs to be able to be done quickly and not be drug out, because that's what ends up hurting our kids and the family in general. Like if we as adults can decide, you know what, we've been dealing with this for 10, 15 years and we need to go our separate ways. It's not healthy anymore, but
right.
we still want to keep our kids intact. We ought to be able to do that. And the law does not allow us to do that.
Yeah. No, not even a little, I don't think. I, I always hear, there's people I know who've been through divorce and they're like, man, it's the greatest thing ever. It was the easiest thing ever. And we're still friends and we go hang out and have dinner and stuff, together and
That's a
all that.
minority.
I don't think that happens very often, because feelings are hurt and all that. I get it. But again, when it comes to that legal side, or, you know, there is no, to me, there's no rhyme or reason why it has to be that way. I feel like if the laws were set, and this is where a lawyer would come in. So if the laws are set and they're meant to make it fair and good, then is it the lawyers that get together and start haggling? And that's where the confusion comes in, and that's where, things get twisted, the rules get twisted, because now they're making deals and working each other, and they're, hanging out away from there and having lunch together. And, is that what it is? Is it judges getting to interpret it their own way and then making decisions that end up not being fair? I don't know. I'd like to dive into it and know and kind of figure that out. But when, yeah,
To say that any of my friends that were able to go get lawyers and go to mediation and just be civil to each other and work it out and it never have to go to court, those are the best divorces that I know. Those are the ones that still concentrate on the kids, work together for their benefit, and really do what's best. It's once it gets past mediation and you can't agree for some reason on something, that's where I feel like then you're throwing it all out there where some judge has some kind of jurisdiction over you to make a decision for your kids for what's best for you.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like, people, we're done. We know we need a divorce. Let's just work it out in mediation. I mean, I have a friend who's like 4 years of mediation going to court. They're done. Then he goes back and files something else. And it's over.
Yeah.
So it's like, let it go.
And I understand, like you say, in your instance, what you had to walk. This is where I think this is why they need to not shotgun blast the law, the rules, is that, there are instances where things have happened when it comes to finances, where
Yeah.
they do things, illegal things that ruin your credit and take all the money that you've earned in your retirement and all of that. This is where they need to go. All right, let's dive into this thing a little more. Let's don't just go, hey, here's the laws and let's work this out and make it fair, or let's make one a little more lopsided than the other. It's like, dive in a little more. You could have used that. You could have used that help, where a lawyer would have said, wait a minute, we're not doing this because we know that this is how much money you have lost with all your work. We're not okay with this. We're not going to accept this. We want it to be made right or else. So I think I think they need to start looking at them with a more of a fine tooth comb instead of just shotgun blast everybody with the rules.
Well, part of the problem is that they drag it out for so long.
Yeah.
So, you're so beat down months and months and months, and the idea of going another year fighting in court, that you get to the point that you don't even care about those kind of things anymore. And so they beat you down so much, and you paid so much money to the courts and to your lawyer that you're just like, just get it done, whatever you have to do. And so you end up sacrificing something for that instead of getting what is rightfully yours. Or what could happen, my lawyer in my case was like, if you want this done, then you're just going to have to take this. So you settle.
Yeah.
Even for sometimes things that aren't as great for your kids, just to get out from under the energy, all of it. Because like you and I both said, once it's done and you're out from under it, it is a spiritual lift.
Right.
Spiritual energy off of you. And so that's another part of this broken thing, is that it drags out for so long.
Right. And like you said, if you don't, it's similar to what we experienced with you and Ellis and the whole AI crime thing, where, if you're a superstar like whatever, Taylor Swift, then you have some power because you have money, lots of money behind your name, and money talks. When you're somebody like me, who you're scraping together the money just to file the paperwork and, all of that, then Ozzy decided he wants to lay down. When it comes to that, like you said, you're already in a hole. And you're kind of screwed, and so you don't have a lot of choices, and it's all based on money. And this is where, again, I think the whole fairness thing is really not. There's no fairness involved in it, because in the end, it's whoever has the most financial backing that comes out on top. The ones
that's 100% true.
Yeah, that whoever's got the most backing and doesn't have to worry about that is the one that's going to come out on top and get the most, because they can drag it out and and basically hold you hostage, right? Until you just got to say, fine, let's go because I can't afford the lawyer anymore. And so, and here we are back again. How is that fair for kids? How is that fair for kids? That doesn't have anything to do with fairness for children at all. And, and so, and, and I've experienced it, there's friends of mine. I don't know if you have this as much, but then you got one that's being, fed into of people from the outside wanting to interject themselves into the proceedings, the divorce proceedings, because they're your friends, telling you, oh, take them for everything you can get them for, make their life miserable, and again, here we are. We're not talking about, there's nothing talking about the kids. They're not thinking, well, what's this going to do to his kids or her kids? If that comes to fruition, what's that going to do to them? There's none of that. And it's hard, man. I know it's hard not to buy into that. Divorce, there's anger, there's, resentment and bitterness, and it's hard not to buy into that. But if I feel like
I just feel like we have to look at divorce differently. I mean, as a society, like when it's done, it's done.
Yeah.
And so, how many friends of ours, and even us personally, walked into a divorce going, okay, we're going to be amicable. We're just going to go. We're going to, we can figure it out on our own.
Yeah.
We can do this. And then
Yeah.
after all the friends start speaking into it, like take them for this, take them for that. Then it gets into this really bad divorce that didn't necessarily have to start that way.
Yeah.
Again, when you get to the point of divorce, when you get to the point of actually filing, you're
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
And so it just needs to be looked at like, we're done. What can we do for our kids? And what's the quickest way to get out of this?
Yeah.
To go on with life? Because that's really the healing thing, is being able to go on with life.
Yeah.
And it's sad because sometimes it's not what maybe the other person wants. But come on, you gotta go back and go, we've had problems for 10 years.
Right.
I know the other person's cheated on me for my whole marriage. Like you just got to be realistic and go, you know what? I don't have to put up with this anymore,
Right.
And you come to a point that it's done. And so I think friends and family have to look at it that way. Like, and I know every situation's a little different, but you and I think is similar in that regard. Like, we battled this a really long time. And so it's time to, just kind of move on with it. And everybody can support it.
Hey, y'all, welcome back. We had some technical difficulties. I'm still new to this whole podcasting game, and I'm still trying to figure out all the ins and outs. And of course, technology is not my strong suit. So, part of it, we had dogs tonight. We had the whole Life Warrior gambit of dogs and kids calling. And so when you don't have your FaceTime, you don't have your Do Not Disturb on and somebody calls, it cuts off the recording. So that's what we had going on tonight. And so again, the end, we were right there at the end. We'd kind of made our point about, fairness and how it should be done. We think it should be done when it comes to the kids. And so I think that was the Life Warrior lesson for tonight was, we think, my opinion, the system is flawed in that it allows outside entities or things to come into play that shouldn't, and that take away the focus on what's really the important part, which is the kids. And when one of the parents is not given the capability of being a major part financially of the kids' lives, then it doesn't help. It makes it worse. And and so I guess that would be, I don't know if that's a lesson. It's not really a lesson. I think that's that's an opinion. Of course, it was
Well,
opinion based on experience. So,
well, and I think our hope in all of this is just to help people start making a paradigm shift to the idea that it's more about the kids instead of about the adults, and
right,
that just how it should be. Once it's done, it's done. And so people
yeah,
need to just come in and support both sides and be there for all of it. So it's more of a maybe an awareness of a paradigm shift in the way we think about divorce.
right. No, I agree. So, um, man, I think two good discussions on divorce. It's a good beginning, anyway. Who knows where it goes? I don't know where this will end up leading. I feel like there's
We've got tons of
so
topics.
so much to divorce um, that the oh, there we go again. Never fails. The dogs
No.
have put in their 2 cents worth at the end of the night. Those dogs don't bark, y'all, ever at night outside. Rarely. They just wait until it's night time to do it right when we're podcasting. So
Yeah.
once again, life here in this Life Warrior house.
Yeah.
So it's a good start. Episode number 2. And who knows? We'll see what the third episode's about. We'll have to sit down and discuss it. And
We'll come up with it quickly.
yeah. So, well, y'all, thanks for joining again. And we're just going to keep pushing forward. And eventually we'll perfect this thing one of these years. So, thank y'all for joining the Life Warrior podcast. Please like, subscribe, pass it on. The more people we have subscribe, the more people we can reach out to and help, because there's a lot of people out there that need it. So, all right, y'all. Y'all remember, tomorrow, go do Life Warrior shit. That's all I got. Peace.